Ladies and gentlemen, what is happening? My name is Haydunn. I am the assistant coach for the Arcaniners this season, and I have been tasked with doing the battle for this week as George was out. So this is actually a post-commentary. I'm just going to kind of go through my thoughts on the match. I wasn't able to record a live commentary as I played it, but this week we're going up against Delray, and I haven't had a whole lot of time to prepare for this, but he has a very scary team. He's got the Iron Valiant. A couple of big things that I am afraid of. I didn't really prep against Hisui and Gudra. Tyranitar, a couple things that kind of caught me off guard. But let's get into the match. So I decided to lead off with the Tinkaton. He leads off with the Thunderous. Now this is a lead Tinkaton, basically here to set up Stealth Rock, go for dual screens, potentially be a suicide lead. I am worried on this matchup a little bit about a Prankster Taunt, but he actually ends up just going for the Volt Switch as I do set up my Stealth Rock. Now, of course, he does have the Dawn Fan, so that's exactly what's gonna come in here, and I'm kind of fine with this. I can easily switch into something like a Moongus. If he wants to go for that Rapid Spin, it's gonna have to be forced out. But as I'm looking at the team, I realize he does in fact actually have a Spore Switch in the form of Hisui and Gudra. Likely gonna be carrying that Sap Sipper, expecting a Moongus. So I do go into the Moongus here. It's kind of just my safest bet. I do expect him to go for that Rapid Spin, but he sets up the Stealth Rock of his own, which is actually kind of nice because now he is kind of forced to keep that Stealth Rock around at least for a little bit longer. And I know Hisui and Gudra is basically a hard counter to a Moongus. So I decided to make a double switch. Expect the Hisui and Gudra to come in, and I'm going to go into Volcarona. Now, I was really hoping he went for the Rapid Spin instead of setting up the Stealth Rock of his own, just because now, of course, Volcarona comes in and gets destroyed by the Stealth Rock. And, you know, ordinarily, if I was at full, I could easily win this 1v1 and potentially set up some Quiver Dances in the process, but at half health, it's not looking ideal. I really kind of planned to be able to Terra before coming into Stealth Rock, but, you know, it's not going to happen like that. And now I'm staring in the face of this Gudra feeling like I really need to just kind of try to get some chip against this thing. I feel like he's likely just going to go for something like a Draco Meteor. It's the hardest he can hit me with, and after a Quiver Dance, I know that I can take at least one of them and then fire off an attack in return. So I'm trying to figure out if this thing is going to be something like Assault Vest. That's kind of what I expect, but I go for that Quiver Dance here, and that is going to end up going for the Draco Meteor. So I do live it. I barely live with 22, but now, of course, with that special attack drop, I'm not seeing any recovery, so it's probably going to be Assault Vest. I really just need some damage on this thing because, honestly, Hisui and Gudra kind of is a real pain in the ass. And now I've actually got myself in a spot where Volcarona is not really doing exactly what I had planned for, and I kind of just have to get, I guess, any type of value I can out of it at this point, especially because I can't come in on Stealth Rock and I have no hazard control. So he actually ends up switching into Tyranitar, conserves the Gudra. That thing is super useful. Basically makes my Amoonguss useless. So I go for that Fire Dance. It does pretty much nothing, and I now get hit up by the Sandstorm. So the Sandstorm is actually important for this matchup. I didn't prepare for Sandstream Tyranitar because I'm actually running a Hawlucha that kind of focuses on an Endure set. So with Sandstorm being around, that is not ideal for being on 1 HP later. So I'm just going to end up going for the Terra here and go for the Giga Drain. I Terra just on the off chance that I can like get enough health back from this drain to be able to take an attack from this thing. And I have nothing else that I can Terra later on anyway, so there's kind of just no reason to not just put the water on my head. So that's exactly what I do. I end up going for that Giga Drain. It knocks it down to about half. And I do get some good recovery. That is a critical hit, and that did like nothing, of course, in the Sandstorm. But still, at +1, it's not going to do much. He reveals he actually ends up going for the Power Gem. Instead of a physical attack, Power Gem I'm able to take because of my special defense. And that actually puts me in a pretty solid spot. I'm thinking, I don't know why you're special Tyranitar, but Power Gem does not knock me out. And with that critical hit damage I saw from the Giga Drain, I just decided to go for the Bug Buzz. Try to get as much damage as possible, and likely Volcarona just goes down here. But I go for that Bug Buzz. I actually end up getting another critical hit, so extremely lucky as that takes care of the Tyranitar. And that's mostly, I'm feeling good about that because now this thing cannot switch back in and get back up that Sandstorm. And now when this goes away, I guess Hawlucha's kind of free to try to do some 1 HP stuff with Endure, other than, I guess, Dawn Fan having Ice Shard in form of priority, and then potentially Iron Valiant Shadow Sneak is all they got. So I get super lucky there on killing the Tyranitar, and now in comes the Thunderous once again. Does get hit by that Stealth Rock, and I need this thing whittled down because Hawlucha is kind of my win condition, or at least trying to be. And I don't have really much coverage for something like the Thunderous. So, of course, I'm kind of stuck. I cannot switch. I just come in on Stealth Rock and die. So I decided to let Volcarona go. And he does come in with the Volt Switch, which is kind of nice because now they bring in a switch in, and then I can just go into whatever I like. So it is going to end up being Young Coffee, and back comes the Hisuian Gudra. This thing, again, is such a pain in the ass. I truly have never even battled against one of these things. I didn't even know it was Sap Sipper until I was like looking it up during this match. So I was like, okay, I can't spore you. So, all right. I decided to go into Tink. Now, Tinkaton does a good job of walling Hisuian Gudra, especially if this thing is going to be Assault Vest. It can't really touch me. And now I can kind of do what this Tinkaton is here to do, and that is set up screens. I decided to go for the light screen because I'm thinking Valiant's probably a special attacker that's the biggest threat about now. So I'm honestly just going to try to get up dual screens, get some damage, and then be able to bring in something to try to do something behind these screens. So they end up going into Donphan here, expecting this thing to probably want to go for a Rapid Spin rather than an Earthquake here. But I know that I am faster, so I can kind of do whatever I want here. Either I can reflect or decide to get some chip. I go for the Gigaton Hammer just to get some type of chip on this Donphan. I really need this thing whittled down to the point where Hawlucha could potentially finish it off. So I do that Gigaton Hammer. It doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but it does a decent chunk as they do go for that Rapid Spin. So now this thing's at +1 speed, and it turns out I'm actually still faster as I'm able to go for Reflect. And now I have my dual screens up, and it's kind of ideal at this point if this does finish me off, so then I can start to get something up behind these screens. But it actually ends up being high horsepower rather than Earthquake, and I'm able to live that. So now I just go for another Gigaton Hammer for a little bit more chip, which is actually fine. It does put it in range for a lot to be able to take care of it. I do get another crit, so that's like 3. And the luck is seeming to be on my side about now. But yeah, so now I get a free switch into the Donphan. Now, I'm running Choice Scarf Gyarados. The reason for that is to try to potentially stop fast sweepers, and now I'm really wishing that I was actually Dragon Dance like with leftovers, because I bring in Gyarados here, and I am Moxie. So the plan with this thing is basically just to be super fast, faster than everything they've got, as long as it's not a plus speed boosted Iron Valiant. So I decided to go for the Earthquake here. Now my thought process is they go into Hisuian Gudra, I get some solid chip on that thing that I really need. But it turns out he actually ends up going into the Valiant, and as you're going to see, without Stealth Rock, Valiant comes in, it is actually going to pop that Quark Drive with the booster energy, does give it a speed boost, and that is not ideal because it is faster than Scarf Gyarados now, and Earthquake doesn't even do half. So had I gone for the Stab Waterfall, I was thinking either he stayed in and let the Donphan go down, or he went into Hisuian Gudra, and I can try to just get some great chip with an Earthquake. But now I'm put in a spot where I can't kill this thing with another Earthquake. I'm stuck into my Scarf. A Waterfall would have been a nice 2-hit KO, but behind the light screen I should be able to take an attack from this thing. But I can't risk this thing setting up. I can't go into a Moongus on like a Psyshock or a potential setup. I can't go into pretty much anything here, and he's gonna end up going for that Ghost Terra. So at least I can see kind of what this Valiant is built to do. But I'm thinking behind the screens, I am bulky Gyarados, and I should be able to live and attack, but it doesn't really help me kind of at all because that Earthquake isn't gonna do enough to knock it out. So he does go for that Thunder Punch. With the Reflect up, I'm able to live and fire off another Earthquake. Of course, I've used up my crit luck, and it does stay alive. So this Scarf Gyarados is doing pretty much exactly what it should not have done, and clicking Earthquake there really kind of is looking like it's ruining the entire match for me, because I can't really switch out. I can't hard switch anything into this, and now my Gyarados is just going to go down to the Terra Blast. So we've seen Thunderbolt or Thunder Punch and Terra Blast, thinking this thing is probably going to be more physical. And I don't really have a great answer for this. Now here, I have Scarf Chi Yu as well, basically built to stop this thing. It is actually still faster if this thing is running max speed. Like with that Quark Drive speed boost, it is still going to be faster. Behind a Reflect, I think a Close Combat is a potential role. I think maybe after Stealth Rock actually, I do just die to it. But I bring in Chi Yu and misplay number 2. I essentially do get out sped here because it is going to be max speed plus that Quark Drive, and a Close Combat kills me. So I should have gone a Moongus probably, but then I figured they just bring in Hisuian Gudra, and then I'm just stuck in an endless loop switching into Stealth Rock, and nothing really good comes to that. But that was definitely a misplay bringing Chi Yu in there, and now the game is far from winnable. So I essentially just go Hawlucha, and my only hope is kind of, I guess, just to get Hawlucha to do some Unburden stuff. So this thing is essentially, it's Lychee Berry with Endure so to activate my Unburden. But I go for the Endure here just because I don't know if this thing is going to be mixed and then still throw like a Moonblast at me. I braced myself, but it actually just goes for the Thunder Punch, so it doesn't have like anything like a Psyshock or a Moonblast, and that does nothing behind the Reflect. So I should have just probably gone for the Acrobatics here, finished this thing off, and then been able to endure against something later. But again, they still have the Donphan like in the back that has Ice Shard likely, so it's kind of not really working out. It goes for that Thunder Punch, does knock me down to my Lychee. Now, the only hope that I have here is if they don't have the priority in the form of Shadow Sneak or the Ice Shard on the Donphan. Reflect wears off, and now I can just go for that Acrobatics with that +1 attack, but it has Shadow Sneak, and that is going to take care of the Hawlucha, and then Amoonguss cannot do anything to Iron Valiant. So I completely ruined that match, and probably could not have played better, or could not have played worse if, you know, I tried. I truly don't think anything went well there, but I guess it happens. Amoonguss comes in, I'm just going to run because, you know, there's nothing that I can do here. Truly, if I would have clicked Waterfall against that Donphan when I switched in Gyarados, it would have been a completely different match, because then 2 takes care of Iron Valiant, and then Hawlucha in the back has a way better shot. But great game to Dell. Dude played well, and I played extremely bad, and yeah, my bad. See you.
How's it going, guys? Just wanted to end this video off with a huge thank you to Haydunn for playing this week. I did go off on vacation, kind of left him high and dry there with a little bit of the build and the prep, so our prep work definitely could have been a lot better. Watching that video 6 to 7 minutes in, he was on top there in my opinion. It's just 1 or 2 little misplays, the Gyarados set not being optimal. I think the intention of it was more for it to be a late game sweeper or to prevent an Iron Valiant sweep, but at the end of it, huge thank you to Haydunn for playing this week. You played phenomenally. Keep your head held high, and let's go in it for week 7. All right, guys, thanks. Peace.